Today my goal is going to be to teach you how to better deal with Godfrey. If you're watching this video, this is probably the first video of the channel that I'm going to be doing now. So hope you enjoy this and more. As always, if you do need help regarding to any boss or this boss in particular, you can always come to my Twitch channel and I will be happy to help you. If you have a VOD, you can bring a VOD and that will make things even better. Some of you guys don't really want to know the ins and outs of the boss. You just want like a quick sort of answer, and so you can get past the boss. And I do understand you, so we're gonna go with that first. If you're fighting Godfrey and you don't mind using summons, I do suggest using Rotten Stray Ashes. Stray Ashes probably got a little bit nerfed, but still a really good summon to have alongside you. If you can really proc that rot, you'll take a good chunk out of him. Normally when I'm fighting Godfrey, I actually am able to take around like half his health together with the Rotten Ashes, and that gives me a lot of health to be able to just deal with the second half more comfortably. You're gonna have to have in mind that you're gonna have to try to take aggro away from the dog. If you're using range, it's even better. If you're not using range, you're using melee, you can probably use some of the throwable items, consumable items that actually just switches aggro. The more you can switch aggro away from the dog, the better, because that allows the dog to actually be able to do more damage in. Also, try to have Rotten Stray Ashes at plus 10. The higher you have it level up, the more it could sustain. As you can see, this guy is tanking, and then together with him, we're being able to just drop it all the way to half. I use magic. You can use any form of weapon you like, but magic tends to be like the most reliable one. If your build is not magic, then definitely don't use magic. If you do not want to do the doggo, I'll show you on this other fight here. This is me doing magic by myself. Basically, if you want to, you can do this on melee as well. So the move you kind of want to deal with when it comes to playing this sort of like far range is the lunge, where he throws the axe towards you and then goes towards you. Or you can try to bait this attack right here. This overhead only has one follow-up, which is a spin attack, which is something that you kind of want. Besides baiting these two sort of attacks, which are really good to bait, you can also try to look for a specific attack in which you can confirm for free, which is a spin attack. This boss likes to use a spin attack as his ender for most of his combos. I would say like probably, at least for phase 1, like 90% of his combos, ends like that. If you can confirm that one move in particular, you can for sure get one clean hit here. Any magic users, just play from far, get a good amount of range, and then cast. He likes to improv read once the cast is about to like finish, so you have time to jump. So always jump this and then roll away if you want to. And this is usually the strat I go for when it comes to magic. So if you're struggling a little bit and he's actually pushing you super hard, just try to take distance and wait for it. This is the best moment to do so because he's like not as aggressive in the first phase. Try to look for the spin attack as the ender, because that way you can actually go for a really nice punish. On phase 2, he's a little bit tricky because he's always going to be in your face. This boss in particular likes to chain attacks. There's very few attacks that actually have an ender, which is like they don't continue. The rest are like attacks that he can continuously chain as long as you're in front of him. So we don't want to do that. One thing you could do is actually just wait for the long range attacks where he does a couple grabs he likes to do. It's a really good moment to just punish if you're melee, and even if your magic is just, you gotta make sure your casting is fast. There's a way of increasing the cast, decreasing the cast time. I just don't exactly know it off the top of my head, but with a little bit of Google search, you'll be able to find it. But if you're doing melee, this grab in particular here, you can actually bait it. And as you can see, if you roll backwards, you will basically be around the same spot as him, like right here, and then you can go for a free punish. As long as if you're locked on, your character immediately is going to snap and is going to hit the boss. Like so. The other thing you could do is actually stay close to him. Look as I'm actually getting close to him, I'm just sidestepping. So strafing this boss in phase 2 is actually not a bad option. It's a pretty good one actually. Not all moves is going to be easily strafable, but some of the moves you can. And if you're using a medium speed weapon, it's actually going to be a really good idea to strafe, go for one punish, strafe, and go for another punish. You can keep on doing that. If you go for 2 punishes on a medium speed weapon, you might have to roll because you might not have enough time. Hug is right, and just strafe with them, punish, strafe with them, punish, right? If you don't like this idea because it's a little bit scary, then the best thing you could do is just play from far, wait for him to approach you with a grab, and then you punish that. The one thing that I will say is that going behind them every single time is actually a really good idea because the chain stops. Now, if you're looking to know the boss a little bit better, we can get a little bit more complex in here. Godfrey is a pretty interesting boss. Unlike other bosses that I fought in the past, some of them have just a really good moveset and kit where you just know what's coming after you see their first move. The one thing I would like to tell you is that even though Godfrey has a lot of like combos, like really extensive combos, there's something that if you don't pay close attention, you won't notice this, and that is that every single one of his starting moves on a combo actually has variations. He can have one starting move have multiple ways of ending. He is actually combining the first two moves that are unique with variations, and there's actually 4 variations of combos, and those variations are: variation A starts with a sweep, diagonal overhead, and then goes for a spin attack. That spin attack, you can roll past him to the left and then just end behind him, and you'll be fine, and you can punch from there. But this is what we call variation A. Variation A only has 3 hit, it's a 3-hit combo. That means that no matter what he pairs it with, once you see the low sweep, there's 2 more extra moves that start coming. You got this one, 2, and then 3. Variation B actually has 2 extra hits. If it does variation B, you will know, not on the sweep, you will know on the thrust, which is the one we have here, right? So thrust will happen, and if you're in range to actually get hit, you'll guarantee get this move from him, which is this one right here. Those are the extra 2 hits, the thrust into a swipe attack, and from there he'll resume just like variation A, which is diagonal into a spin attack, and that's basically variation B. Now variation C is different, doesn't start the same, it ends the same way though. Variation C, it will start with a left side overhead, like so, and then from there it will proceed to just do a spin attack, and that's pretty much it. This is the smallest hit combo variation there is. And then now we have variation D. This one you don't trigger it that early. If you haven't dealt damage to Godfrey, you will not get this variation. This variation will happen after just a few hits. The way it starts, it's rather weird in a way. It looks like it starts the same way as variation A or B, but it doesn't. You could say that this variation is a bit of a mix-up between variation A and B, where if he goes for he's supposed to go for the diagonal overhead, you might just see him do spinning the axe in the air. And I'll put this on slow motion so you can see what I mean. Normally it's the diagonal boom and then the spin attack. And I say that because even though variation D is starting the way I'm showing, there's moments where he will start like a variation A or B and it will transition into D. There you go. The spin and then slams, that's a second hit. 3. I mean, no, this is the second hit, and then the explosion is the third. That's basically variation D. Godfrey will just mix and match these variations that I showed you with any of the openers that I'm about to show you. First off, we got the 2-hit combo, which is stomp on the left and then a sweep. And if you actually roll behind him, you'll be able to punish him for free there. You got the overhead with the axe. Then you got the double swipe. You have the uppercut into a slam. You have the stomp, which is just 1. The jab, which is also 1. And then you have these ones, which are dash stomps. You can actually do dash stomp towards the left, dash forward towards you as an approach, or dash to the right, in any of the 3. And usually, the way it kind of goes is if you're behind the boss, he is very likely to dash in the opposite side in which you are. So if you're like standing on his right side, he will dash towards the left side, away from you. The dash forward is only to just approach you when you're far. The dash stomps in particular, they do have variations, believe it or not. These last ones are like approaches in a way. They have the launch attack. You can actually roll backwards. If you roll backwards here, you can land exactly where he's at. Instead of rolling sideways, you'll actually, if you roll sideways, you won't have a moment to punish. But if you roll backwards, you'll be around in the same position as him, right around there. And that's a really good moment to punch as well. You can probably go for 1 to 2 punishes. And here comes the jump attack. Jump attack, usually you prefer to just roll towards the boss and land behind, because it gives you a good opportunity to just smack him once or twice. So the overhead combo is actually a really peculiar one. I believe it's the only one, or one of the few, that actually doesn't have sort of variations in a way. It just does a spin attack at the end. And then from there, that's pretty much all the moves. We have now the transition, which is just, you just jump over it. Nothing too scary. I guess the best moment to like know exactly when you should jump is when you see his hand grab the pole. Basically, your visual cue can be once you see the hand motion just grabbing the pole, you jump. That's a transition. Once that happens, I don't show it here, but we can actually show it on one of my fights that I have here. Basically, if you already fought the boss, you already know what's coming. You're gonna have to jump every single stomp. You can roll stomps as well. But if there's any strafing that you could have done, you're basically not going to be able to do it on this, on the stomps per se. And so what you want to do is that this boss is actually going to be dashing towards you most of the time. So you welcome the dash. So I like to jump and then roll in and then go for a poke. And if a spin attack happens, then I roll and then I do another punish. Roll, poke, roll again, and then poke. So phase 2 is where things get pretty interesting. Intro grab move. Goes in. This is the best thing you could do. Just run forward and then go through the right and circle around. From there, you can walk towards him and then just do one attack. You can just punish him once. After that, things get crazy just because the way this boss functions is that every move chains it to itself. Almost every move. Some of them actually have like a consistent combo string, which you will see. And some of them don't. Starting with the lunge. Lunge is the one that doesn't have a chain. It's more of like he'll jump. And if you see the lunge coming, it's a 3-hit combo. First thing you'll see here is that he lands. That's one. You jump the next one, and then you run away. Okay. We have the jump attack, which is mainly an approach. If it's two-hand, it is very likely that there will be no follow-ups. And you can go behind him or stay in front and just do like 1 to 2 punishes and then run away. So this is the other type of grab. The first one you saw was more of a slow motion, him approaching you slowly and then going for the grab. And there's two hands going upwards. This one in particular, he's cross hands and he's going to just try to launch you up, which is why I call it a launch, right? So this way, you kind of want to roll with him. And as you're ending the roll, you can walk a little bit forward and then you'll be able to punish. And then there's the roar. Every other roar will be followed up by the lunge, which is, you know, what he jumps up in the sky, lands, and explodes the whole terrain. This one right here is the one-handed jump. You can roll past him, and then you'll be able to punish. But be careful. Make sure that you're behind it, because if you stay just into the sides or in front, he will chain just like he's doing right here. So what you're about to see here is called, I named it a right-handed jump attack. No, is this one. So this is a low sweep. So let's watch that again. So jump attack into a low sweep. This low sweep in particular, you can jump over it. So the best thing you can do is, if you're close, strafe to the right. And if you keep strafing to the right, you'll end up behind him. If you're ahead of that attack in particular, the leg will not get to you. One-handed grab. Now this one in particular is what I call the finisher. It's not that it stops the attacking completely. After the one-handed grab, he will continue to do attacks. But the one particular thing about this the attack is that the post animation is pretty long, and since it has a pretty long post animation, you're able to just go in and do one punish. If you strafe to the right, you'll be able to even get 2 punishes in, so it's actually pretty good. And then you have a uppercut. Next up is a jumping leg attack. Again, most of these attacks in particular, anything that is not stomp, you can just strafe around and you'll be fine. A lot of his attacks before transitioning into the moment where it's every stomp just deals damage throughout the whole arena, you're gonna be able to strafe them. So jumping leg attack, it's an overhead. You roll past it and you can punch from behind. This is a leg uppercut. This one you can definitely just strafe around to the right. Dash grab, this is another favorite of mine. You can just roll past him and then punish once. When you see it, the right stomp into this is actually a 2-hit combo. Whenever he goes for the stomp, you'll definitely see the follow-up. Basically what you want to do is you want to roll towards the stomp. You're going to be basically around his leg. I don't do it here because I actually messed that up, but you basically roll forward and then you should be on the right side. And if you stay on the right side and you strafe on the right side, it will just miss you. The follow-up will just miss you and you'll be able to punish twice. The other option is what I'm doing here, which is I'm jumping on the stomp and then rolling past them. And on this roll, you can actually like punish once and probably twice. So next up, the double swipe into this. This tends to happen from time to time, but it's not like a full combo. This double swipe here is one chain, and then him jumping here is another chain. So just roll behind him and just punish. We have the flurry. This is an 8-hit combo. If you're in front of him, you're gonna have to run away pretty far, or now you'll get stuck into it. There's ways to deal with it no matter which spot you are in during the whole combo. You just need to be aware of which attack is coming and roll according to that attack. But the way you kind of want to deal with this move in particular is you want to roll past the first attack and then go behind. So the way I do here, I roll past this hand, and then what you want to do is you want to stay very close to him, right? Kind of like instead of moving forward, you kind of move forward but right side, right? So I don't do it here because I do want to show the last move here. If you're close enough, he'll follow it up with this, right? That swipe doesn't do it all the time, but it will do it if you're close. These two swipes are actually a chain on their own. They're not together, right? So this is one chain, and then this is two chain. This is second chain. You will see them separately instead of together. I did forgot to edit this and change it, but this is basically what it is. Leg overhead. This one you do jump because it's a stomp. From here we got a two-handed overhead finisher. It says finisher here, but it might not be finisher now that I think about it, because you can see how fast he goes back up and then goes back up. That means he can continue the combo. So this might be a chain. This is not a finisher. And the one where he sticks both of his hands in the ground, that will definitely be a finisher. From here we have a three hit combo. If you're fast enough, you can actually dodge the first two swipes. You roll to the right, and then if you roll correctly, which I didn't roll correctly, you can actually punch this before the leg lands. Roll a little bit more to the left, try to find a way to roll behind him, punish him, and then stomp happens and you roll again. The answer to some of these attacks is basically sidestepping. So here I will showcase how that looks. One sidestep, right? Two sidestep. As you can see, I'm just sidestepping and the moves are failing, right? They're not hitting me, right? So this is what I mean. Phase 2 has around, like, I think 12 to 14 attacks, and a handful of them, more than 50% of their attacks, actually just do this. Or if you strafe, they will miss. This is a really good way of dealing with Hoarah Loux for the first half of the second phase. On the second half, there are still moves you can definitely sidestep, but anything related to stomp, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to jump or roll. And I would say rolling is probably the better option, just because you want to reposition yourself behind him just so he stops doing chains. So this move in particular that he does here, you can actually sidestep on the second phase as well. This move you cannot sidestep. You're going to have to either jump it. So again, sidestep is really good, but it requires a bit more knowledge and precision. Lastly, if you have any problems, like I said in the beginning, you can just go to my Twitch channel and, you know, bring a recording if you have a recording, and I will be glad and happy to help you. But I also have a Patreon. If you guys do want to support what I'm doing, I do plan to bring more tutorials. Ideally, the more tutorials, the better, just to help everybody who is struggling with this games and other games and as such. If you want to support that endeavor, please go to my Patreon in the description, and yeah, I really will appreciate it. Besides that, leave a like, subscribe if you really did enjoy the content, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Keep on playing.